The installation of the nitrous kit is going to be based off of this kit, part number 20113-10. This is what it'll look like, and you're going to need to order another part from them. They're not going to tell you this, but you're going to need it, and I'll tell you why. It's part number 16184. You are going to need this for your fuel rail. There's a sensor there. You're going to put this between that. You're also going to have to go to AutoZone to pick up the right O-rings. There's a kit. It's like a mixed variety. I'm going to start with the solenoids. You get these hoses, and they have different sizes. This one is the 18-foot one with the 9/16 size bolt on it, but they call it a negative 4A or 4N negative 4A hose. As another one just like this on the other side. It's a 9/16. This is also a 9/16 that hooks into it. Ignore all the white nasty stuff I put on here. It was my attempt to try and seal the outside in case I needed to. This is the nitrous solenoid, and this is the in part. There's another side that I plugged off with the thing it comes with, and it has an Allen wrench that twists it together. If I can, nope, you're not gonna be able to see it that good, but it's there. You're gonna have to use a sealant with a PTFE. It's a PTFE derivative. Got it at Lowe's, and just ask them where you have your PTFE sealant. It's going to be in the plumbing area. It's that going to be that wall that has a cutout door in one of the aisles. It's the only one that has it. It's in there, so you'll find it there. What I mean is it's the only aisle that has a cutout doorway in it. Now this tube going out after the solenoid is open, or this, it's going to go to the nitrous side. I have a jet nozzle in there, 52, because I want to run 100 shot. But you have to have the 33 nozzle inside there on the fuel side. Now I'll talk about the fuel in just a second. You're not supposed to use tools to tighten it. You're supposed to hand tighten everything. This is just a reference. And this opening right here would be for a purge kit. Here's another one, perfectly identical to it on the fuel solenoid. That is also what would go on the, that's much better. That's going to go also to the purge kit. It also is labeled purge on both solenoids. This one, if it wasn't covered with a bunch of white crap, it would say nitrous right there. And it says in, and on the bottom it'll say out, like on the side right here. And I have arrows pointed to everything. Now the fuel solenoid, I'm going to put this wherever I can. So part 6184 is going to go under that. This is the fuel sensor, or the fuel rail sensor. You're going to unbolt those, and it's going to be a different size. You're going to need an Allen wrench. But you can see that, duh. You're going to need this. It's a, they're standard Allen wrenches. You're not going to need any metric for this. Got it at Lowe's. It comes in a 3-pack with a couple of metric size assortment. This is standard. You're going to need 3/16, and you're going to need 5/32. This bigger one is likely, yeah, it's going to go to the solenoids where you need to use the Allen wrench. Yep. Ignore that sound. You're going to need the smaller one to tighten these bolts that come with the new fuel rail adapter thing. The part 16184. When you pull it off, you are going to have to tighten it down with new O-rings. They didn't tell you that. This is the original ring I pulled off of the sensor that's on top of that fuel rail. Now this ring is going to be too small and too big for either of the applications once you have that new adapter. So what I did was I went to AutoZone and got the multi-purpose Assorted O-ring kit. It's only $3, and you're only going to need 2. Likely those 2. Can you see them? That one's thinner, and you're gonna have to put that on this on the sensor. That sensor is gonna have a snout hanging downwards. You're gonna have to roll that on there, the thinner one, because otherwise it's gonna be too big, it's not gonna fit. Now the thicker one I showed you is gonna have to go on this this new part that's underneath the sensor. It's gonna go on this black thing right here. It's gonna come with one, but you're gonna want to take it off because it's not gonna fit inside. There's gonna be either too thin or too thick. I can't remember. It's probably gonna be too thin. So put that other one on there and then shove it into the fuel rail. That's gonna go under. That's gonna go in first. Then you're gonna put the sensor on. And you see that sensor? That's on the top with the thing plugged into it, the electrical stuff. It'll then fit. But push it down real good. Make sure it's pushed down real good. Oh, by the way, there is on the top of this, there's going to be an opening, and it's not going to be perfectly in the center. It's going to be either to the left or to the right, depending on how you're looking at it. And this nozzle is going to be facing this chrome nozzle that it either comes with. Yeah, it comes with it. You're going to have to screw it in, but make sure you use the sealant. And that nozzle is going to be facing toward the driver's side. So it's going to be facing toward you as you're driving. See that hose? That's the... That hose, make it work. It's going to go under and around, but make sure it goes into the fuel solenoid. So it goes into the in part of that fuel rail, or the fuel solenoid. You'll notice that that side is the 9/16 size, but it comes out of here. I guess it's the 9/16. So anyway, you take the bottom one, which is gonna get smaller when it comes over here. It's gonna go on the right side. It'll be labeled. You'll see nitrous on the left, fuel on the right. That's gonna be a 7/16 size. No, I take it back. Underneath the fuel solenoid, it actually is going to be that 7/16 size. So make sure that you take a note of this on which sizes go where, because you're going to get confused. You're going to have different sizes on all the hoses. That thinner one is going to connect to a connecting piece that screws into the solenoid. And all of them have a connecting piece. So there's going to be one here. There's going to be two on each solenoid, plus that little stopper thing at the back where the purge system would connect. And you will have to order those parts as well. If you're going to have a purge system, it might come with it. If it doesn't, then make sure you know what sizes it's going to be. You might need to call the company, Nitrous Express, and ask them. These are carbon fiber. You can't really see it because I junked it up. I'll get to the wiring as soon as the plumbing is done. Now you'll need to drill a 5/8 hole in that. Find a 5/8 drill bit for your drill gun, and once you have it drilled, clean it out real good. I'm going to give you a link to some instructions on how they do it a little bit more clean than I would have done it, than I've done it actually. And it'll be probably Nos who has a video to do that. But there are some things that they're not going to tell you for hooking it up on this car, and that's why I'm doing this. I'm trying to make your life easier. So use the PTF sealant to seal that up real good and then bolt it tight. Please be careful when installing these nozzles. You can drop it into the engine bay, and if you're extremely unlucky like me, it's going to bounce into one of the little tiny holes that goes into the frame, and you'll never see it again. I used an air compression hose. I raised it off the ground. I dropped it a few times. I've ran it a few times. I've done everything I could looking inside that engine bay. I stuck my head underneath the car into the engine bay looking with flashlights that are so bright it'll make you go blind. And I never found it again. I ordered this new 33, and it's going to go right in here. It's actually kind of strange how it's going to be sitting if you've never done this before. This nozzle is going to say 33 on it. It's technically 0.033, but it's not going to say that. It's going to say 33, and it's going to go in like this. And be very careful from here. Do not let that fall. And then twist it on. This is going to be 6 inches away from the throttle plate at least. This is as much leeway as I was able to get because I bought a cheap intake from eBay for about 35 bucks. There's nothing wrong with that. Just make sure it's not a hot air intake like I have it set up here. You want this thing to be further down where the vent is. Buy a kit where you're able to locate it where you want. You can still do it even if you already bought it. Just take this off, start connecting the hoses all the way to where you need it. From the solenoid, the nitrous solenoid, there was that line that was coming in. Follow it, bring it down, and that is the fuel line before it gets to the fuel rail. So I put 3 zip ties on that to anchor it there to keep it away from the pipe here. This is the left exhaust pipe. That's the cat with the sensor in it. And we're going to follow that line. We're going to take this line and follow the fuel lines with it. You'll see it right here under the left side of the underneath of the car. You're going to undo this plastic thing that keeps them protected. There's one bolt here and another bolt here. The rest have these little buttons that you can pry off with a flathead screwdriver. That's probably the only one you'll need to undo. You don't have to necessarily remove the whole thing here. Just make sure that you undo this side, the right side of it. Of course, it's going to look like the left side the way I'm looking at it, but that's the driver's side. Use a 10mm socket for this. I understand that not everyone's going to have a Pep Boys to use. So, if you're going to get under the car, make sure that you lift both sides and put them on jack stands. And you're going to anchor them on these points, if you can see them. That one there. And you'll be able to lift right there in the middle. Right there. As you can see, I have grooves on there and non-dust marks. That is not going to hurt the car. And right there is where you can set the other jack. When you're lifting the back of the car, don't leave the hydraulic jack there. This is dangerous. You need 4 jack stands. Because I don't have any, I'm doing it like this. But don't do it like this. You can lift it up by the differential gearbox. It's not going to hurt it. Yes, there's leaks there, but that's because of a gasket problem. I'm going to fix that too when I do the 410s and limited slip diff. Okay, lift it from there. And you can put the jack stands right under this, what's called the torque box. Right where it gets round, right here. And make sure you don't hit anything else, like this line. Don't get it pinched. And on the other side, the other torque box. Under the part where it gets round, if you can see that. That's where you put the other jack stand. Okay, so go ahead and pull this down a little. I ran the line through here, and I zip tied 3 zip ties for every part that I'm zip tying. And I'm running it along the fuel lines. 3 zip ties here. By the way, this is going to be your fuel pump filter. Replace that whenever you get a chance. If you've never done it, you've driven your car more miles than it is to replace the oil, you need this new filter. I'll discuss miles and maintenance and fluids on some other videos, but right now you don't care about that. That line, the nitrous line, you're going to follow the fuel lines. Just keep it, this is metal right here, and it goes in pretty far, so keep it as high as you can. So if you go over a bunch of rocks and you're going over curves and things because you're a crazy driver, then you're going to want all of these lines protected as much as possible, especially this one. And so keep it up high next to the metal side here. And follow that line. Keep it under, just keep it protected. Let's see. I zip tied it 3 lines here. And then I went under this. You can see that right there. Follow that. There's holes right here on that metal border I use them to put zip ties. Only one will fit at a time. Then I followed it back here, and this is where it's going to look a little funky. Like I said, follow it through, and right here I put a zip tie on that to connect it to this pipe, just so it doesn't interfere with any of this down here. But if you have any extra money, this is the exhaust, by the way. You want to wrap this line with thermal wrap if you get a chance, because it's going to heat up right here pretty good. So if you get a chance, wrap this whole thing right here all the way down to right here with thermal wrap, because it would just be a moot point because you're trying to use you know what I mean. So I can't talk today, obviously, but you can't oxidize if the oxygen is expanding, and it expands when it gets hot. So thermal wrap, and I zip tied it there, go through there. I just kind of tried to squeeze as much in as I could because I knew I wasn't going to reach the tank this way. By the way, if you get an option to get a 24-foot hose instead, get it, please, because this 18-foot hose is a joke. It'll only barely get you into the trunk. And I didn't learn that until later, and I just ordered extra parts to be able to get it. If you're California-based and you're in Southern California, go to the Nitrous Supply in Huntington Beach. They will ship it out to you next day, which is pretty cool. You will have to pay shipping, but that's because they have to pay shipping from Nitrous Express. Now, if you're going to order from them, you're going to pay that shipping here in California, then by all means get all the parts you need from them. If you already have the kit, get all the extra parts from the shop that's nearest you, that way you can get it quick. Okay, so this is a rubber opening where a lot of stuff goes in and goes out, the electrical wiring. Don't be afraid to use a knife to cut an extra hole or to widen the hole. I would just cut a separate hole to stick that thing through. By the way, before you start sticking this hose through, you want to wrap it with saran wrap or the Ziploc sandwich bags, anything. Take some packing tape, tape it all around it. You don't want dust or any kind of debris getting inside that hose. If it does, you're going to really mess up your engine. Okay. There is one of those, on the solenoids, there is a connector piece that has a filter in it, and that's only for the fuel. So just so you know, fuel can get a lot of contaminants in it, and your fuel filter may get so many contaminants that some things might be able to get through. So that's why that's there. But the nitrous should not need a filter. Okay, so you're going in there. I'm going to show you what it looks like. Underneath this floorboard, you'll have the line sticking out from right here. You can see that. Once it comes through, just kind of lay it down and take it through the entire thing back here, and you'll put the board on top of it. It can be, this is the part that's optional. You can mount your bottle anywhere. I would recommend doing it the way I'm going to do it by, I'm going to probably put a board here that I can bolt onto, and drilling holes for it to put the bottle mounts on. But if not, this is something also I considered, laying it down sideways onto drilling into the back seat itself, and then putting it there so I can probably pull it down from the inside and then turn it on. I should be able to reach it while I'm in the driver's seat, you know, in case there's going to be a race, you know, or you suspect it's going to happen. I don't know, it just depends on you. If you bolt it onto that and you have like some kind of pulley or some kind of rope to pull the thing that's on this side on the inside, the seat will come down with it, yeah. With a long enough hose, you should be able to do this no problem. Twist it on, push the seat back up, or if you're driving around anywhere, you just leave the seat down just in case there's somebody that wants to race or whatever, or if you just want to use it. These are all suggestions. You can hook it up anywhere, at the bottle anywhere you want, but if you're going to have it anywhere inside the cabin, make sure that you have a one of those hoses that will protect you in case the seal ruptures. They have these on the site. Just go ahead and call them and ask for it if you don't know what I'm talking about, and it'll send the stuff outside of your car, because you won't be able to breathe, and it could shatter your windows because it can get pretty dang cold. If you got stuck with the 18-foot hose and you had to order the longer hose to go with it, this right here is the connector piece. Remember, you want to order the -4A hose with the connector, however long you need it to be. And this is a -4A, and this is the connector piece for it. This is another -4A hose. This is a 6-foot extension I'm using, and make sure you tighten that down real good, even if you have to barely move it a little bit with a wrench. You don't want that leaking. When I ordered the extended hose from Nitrous Supply in Huntington Beach, they kind of goofed a little bit on it and sent me the wrong piece, but they made it right, and they sent the right stuff. This isn't where it's mounted, it's just here. You can hand twist those to put it on. Don't hook it up like this. This is just where it is for now until I mount the bottle. Where you mount the bottle is completely up to you. If you're Southern California based, if you're anywhere near the airports of Ontario Airport, go ahead and go, or the Inland Empire. It's still in the Inland Empire, is pretty close to this place where you can refill, and it is called G&J Aircraft. They will fill your bottle for 35 bucks. This is a 10-pound bottle, and that costs 35 bucks. They are not going to carry your nozzles. They are mainly NOS based, but they can probably order parts if you need them. I take that back. No, they won't order those. Well, that I've checked. That I've seen. Okay, now for the fun stuff. We're going to do the electrical wiring. This is pretty quick. I'm going to need you to pay attention. There are two inside... Oh, let's start with where the solenoids are.